Hi, Maddie and Mohammed. All right, so as you can tell, it's bedtime in the O'Neill household right now, but I thought, what better way than to finish our book, Tooter Pepperday. So, we left off on chapter 11. Chapter 11 is called Better Be Careful. Several days later, Tooter was outside teaching Chucky how to spit long distance. Tooter, called Mrs. Pepperday. Her mother was waiting in the kitchen. She had a scowl on her face. She pointed to the shoebox. Is this your doing? Is what? Said Tooter. You know what, said her mother. Don't act innocent. Tooter walked over to the shoebox. The sign now said 11 days till hatching. She looked in. There was the egg dozing on its side, but there was a second egg, too, standing in the corner with a face, a terrible face, drawn in crayon. A face with a wicked mouth and green, daggery teeth. A face with purple skin and horns. A face with eyes, yellow and evil, eyes that glared at the other eggs. What is it, said Tooter. Some kind of voodoo egg? Funny you should say that, said her mother. I was thinking the same thing. It looks like someone's trying to cast a spell on the good egg. Tooter stared at her mother. Who would do that? Her mother squeezed Tooter's cheeks until her mouth was like a fish's. You would do that, little miss, because you don't like it here, so you're trying to sabotage. What sabotage? Said Tooter through her fish mouth. She hated having her cheeks squeezed. Sabotage, said her mother, is messing things up so you can get your own way, like sneaking into your father's computer and sticking yourself into his story, like putting a pair of my earrings on Harvey's ears. Tooter looked shocked. You think I did all that? Her mother snorted. No, I think the tooth fairy did it. She let go of her daughter's cheeks. She took the voodoo egg from the box and gave it to Tooter. Throw this on the compost heap. Tooter screeched, I hate the compost heap. Her mother pointed at the door. Do I have to do it if I confess? Said Tooter. Yes. Tooter stomped her foot, stuck her tongue out at the good egg, and then left. Tooter hated it when her mother had everything figured out. What was the point of confessing? She was glad she didn't. And now she had a name for her recent activities, sabotage. This was interesting. Tooter headed for the compost heap. She had a great idea. She didn't have to get near enough to smell it. All she had to do was pitch the egg from a safe distance, which she did. But the egg fell short. Tooter pitched her nose, stomped up to the wire fence, and threw the egg over. At least it was hard-boiled. Walking away, Tooter spotted the white-topped weeds, the one Aunt Sally had called Queen Anne's lace. Look real close at one and see what you can find in the middle. Tooter picked one out. She looked at it. It was lacy, all right, like a doily, round, the size of a small pancake. She knelt down to look closer. There was a faint odor of carrots. Yes, there was something in the middle of the lace. A spot. A fleck. So small, you'd never notice it unless you got this close. The spot was black. No, purple. She looked closer, squinting, straining her eyeballs. It was a flower. The teeniest, tiniest flower she had ever seen. It would take a whole bouquet of it to cover her fingernail. An almost invisible purple flower keeping its secret in a white, carroty bed of lace. Wow.
Why is the flash on?
What else had Aunt Sally said? Pull up one of these plants and smell the root. Mitten-shaped leaves, sassafras. She found one. She pulled it up from the earth. The root didn't look different from any other root. She smelled it and took off running. She found Aunt Sally in the barn. She wagged the root under her nose. Root beer. Aunt Sally smiled. Root beer it is. And did you find anything in the Queen Anne's lace? Sure did, said Tooter. A purple flower, the world's littlest. Aunt Sally shook her finger at Tooter. Better be careful, or you might become a farmer. No way, said Tooter, laughing. At dinner, Mr. Pepperday said, You know, the egg has been in the family for a while now. Don't you think we ought to give it a name? Humpty Dumpty, blurted Chucky. Arf, said Harvey. Bubble Butt, said Tooter. Egbert, said Mr. Pepperday. The three grown-ups agreed. Egbert it was. Now, remember everybody, said Aunt Sally, when the time comes, no giving Egbert a helping hand. Chicks have to fight their way out of the shell. That's how they get the gumption to take on the world. Aunt Sally poured herself a glass of milk. And another thing, she said. She took a long swallow from her glass. The first critter it sees is what it's going to, when it comes out of that shell, is who it's going to call Mama. Chucky laughed. Maybe it'll be Harvey. Harvey arfed. Tooter said nothing. It was not until after dinner that night that she realized she'd eaten her vegetables. All right, chapter 12, 2 Tooters. 9 days till hatching. 8 days. 7 days. Day after day, Tooter heard, "Did you turn Egbert? Did you turn Egbert?" It was worse than, "Did you brush your teeth?" She wished everybody would stop nagging her. Maybe then she could figure out if she liked the darn thing or not. Sometimes it seemed like there were two Tooters now. One Tooter, the old one, hated having only 2 TV channels. The new Tooter went out each day to look at the tiny purple flowers. The old Tooter held her nose and went, "Ew," every time she passed the barn. The new Tooter breathed deeply and went, "Ah," as she boiled sassafras roots with Aunt Sally. The old Tooter would not go near goat's milk. The new Tooter drank chocolate goat's milk for breakfast. The old Tooter listened each evening for the ring of the Jack and Jill truck. The new Tooter heard the song of the meadowlark. The old Tooter turned off Egbert's light. The new Tooter turned it right back on. 3 days, 2 days, and then the old Tooter went away and never came back. It happened with 1 day left till hatching, and it happened in the barnyard. Besides turning Egbert, Tooter had another chore that day. She had to feed the chickens. Aunt Sally had given her a can of seeds and cracked corn. In the barnyard, she walked about casting feed onto the ground. 5 chickens and 1 rooster came cackling and pecking. One of the chickens was busily pecking away when another chicken charged and sent it squawking. There was a flurry of brown feathers. The bully chicken started pecking in the other's place. Tooter recognized the bully. It was Drumsticks, the hen that had laid Egbert. Now it was Tooter who came charging. "Who do you think you are? You're not just dumb, you're mean." Drumsticks squawked and fled. Tooter went after her. "You ought to be ashamed of yourself. There's 1 egg in that house and it's supposed to be yours, and you don't even care. What kind of a mother are you?" Tooter chased the chicken in circles till she got dizzy and gave up. Drumsticks went back to pecking as if nothing had ever happened, as if it were feeding her own gizzard was all about what mattered in the world. Tooter knew that her mother would never be so heartless. Then Tooter knew what she had to do. All right, last chapter, chapter 13, The Longest Night. Before going to sleep that night, Tooter set her Yogi Bear alarm on spring. That meant 12 o'clock midnight. When the alarm went off, she couldn't believe she'd been asleep for 3 hours. It felt like 3 minutes. She dragged herself out of bed. This time she had a flashlight waiting. She followed the beam of light down the dark hallway, down the stairs, through the living room, through the dining room, and into the kitchen. She looked into the shoebox and let out a squeal of joy. It had already begun. The shell on one end was cracked. Tooter squealed again as the shell wobbled slightly. The crack grew a bit. She thought she saw the end of a tiny beak. Tooter lay down on her stomach. She propped her chin in her hands and smiled and watched. Every minute or so, she giggled. It amazed her to think that inside the smooth, brown shell, the egg had become Egbert. Tooter remembered Aunt Sally's words, "No giving Egbert a helping hand." But Aunt Sally did not say you couldn't root for it. Tooter made a fist. "Come on," she whispered. "You can do it." The crack grew slowly. Tooter's sleepy eyes kept closing and snapping open. The crack became a circle. The shell now had a lid. Tooter could see the lid move. She knew Egbert was inside poking with all of his might. "Come on, you can do it." Tooter drifted in and out of sleep. She kept seeing herself and Egbert. They were alike, weren't they? The 2 of them, both taken from their cozy nests and dumped in a strange place. She on a farm, he in a shoebox. Tooter and Egbert, Egbert and Tooter. And then her eyes were open again. There he was, poking through a hole in the lid, half a scrawny face, beak and eyes, looking straight up at her. Somewhere outside the rooster crowed. Night withdrew from the window pane. Tooter felt the warmth of the light bulb on her face and then in her heart. She smiled weakly. She greeted the newborn chick. "Hi, Egbert." She closed her eyes. The rest of the family came down for breakfast. They heard the peeping, then saw the fluffy yellow chick. Tooter was curled around the shoebox, fast asleep. Mr. Pepperday knelt down and smiled at his daughter. "Miss Tooter, you never cease to amaze me." "Looks like Mama and Baby are doing fine," said Aunt Sally. Chucky and Harvey sat quietly by the box, looking in. Mrs. Pepperday chuckled. "I think Tooter Pepperday has finally joined the rest of us hogs in slop." The end.